Yeah, so David Duke banned from Twitter, one of the biggest white nationalist people. Definitely brings up the debate of censorship, what censorship should exist, if any at all, how to deal with it. I was getting into discussion with this and someone with Twitter who, well, of course, it's like, once you start banning extremists, the slippery slope. If you start banning racists, eventually, Trump, Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, to leftists, those people are Nazis, you know what I mean? So, but I guess in this argument I was making the point, like, well, censorship is going to exist in some form or another, even if it's just the low-hanging fruit, like, no beheading videos, no terrorist videos, no child porn, no posting of people's information, personal information. This is the point I was trying to make, but others would counter and say there should be no restrictions, but that would probably be better than, like Soviet-style censorship, definitely. But is that really feasible, is what I'm saying? I don't know that it is. But then if you do have censorship, they're going to fuck it up. Okay, I don't think that many people are going to miss David Duke. But there's other more popular people that are going to fall into this trap. And even if you hate David Duke, maybe you want to read his freaky tweets. You want to see his most recent surgery, You want to see what his new Botox injections look like. Even if you don't necessarily support him. What's going on here, guys? So, I don't know. It's an evolving situation. The internet is still relatively new. The Wild West days of the internet were like 25 years ago. So, it's like still being settled and dealt with. But yeah, groups like the ADL and others they're trying to get the extremists off of platforms like Facebook, because Facebook has a user base of like 2 billion people or something. So that would be like a huge blow to these groups if they weren't able to access there, and a huge victory for their enemies, I guess. Or like ISIS, I talked about ISIS. They've been kicked off of social media completely. Not completely, but we don't even hear much about them. They've been kicked off of the main networks because they just put in the time and effort to get them banned. So, what's the solution? I think it needs to be argued about, so like at least a acceptable middle ground can be had. And it needs to be hashed out and aired out, like every issue we've dealt with over history. That it was hashed out, there was a fight of some sort, there was a struggle, and then a new status quo was established. The biggest struggle in American history was about slavery. Hugely contentious. No one really debates that one anymore. Although, like 500,000 people had to die over it. So, I don't know. It doesn't worry me too much. But I would be upset if, certain people were banned. But they have competing accounts. You can maintain a presence on Twitter, abide by their rules, and then have a parlor or a BitChute. It's not perfect, but Twitter's like the main square, and then you can go into your little side rooms and have whatever conversation you want, But I think the user base of Twitter is largely going to decide what's acceptable and what's not. virtually everybody doesn't want, you know, like Islamic extremist groups like ISIS on there. Most of them don't want Nazis. Maybe people promoting pedophilia. What other freaky people are there? But if they did start cracking down on more mainstream people, yeah, I think you would see an exodus. And although Twitter is, people say it's a monopoly, and I wouldn't say it's a monopoly, but it is the most dominant player in its space. It was like MySpace back in, what was that, 2000? But I don't think Twitter has the monopolistic power to just do whatever it wants. Because if there is a big enough exodus, then you would have a critical mass of people that could get a Parler going, or a Gab, or whatever the main competitor is, and make it viable. If you get if there's a social group, and you know, they're all getting banned, or their favorite people are getting banned, then that would be a catalyst for them to all move. No, maybe they want all the Nazi white nationalist people off of there, so they wouldn't care about that. But the more mainstream people, then that would start to matter. So I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on that.